Good morning. I would like to talk in Chinese, if you allow me. My Chinese is not as good as Patrick, so please be patient with me. If you have headsets, and if you're not clear about what you hear, you could use your earphones to listen to the English version of my presentation, which can be more correct. The topic of my presentation is about the personality of brands and how brand personality could help you drive your business. This is where I begin. I think now is the best time for food lovers because currently there are so many channels for food lovers to buy the food items they love. They could go to 1号店 YHG.com, Tmall, 淘宝、易国、天天果园 as well as many other e-commerce channels. It is very convenient for them to buy these food items. And thanks to e-commerce, they have much easier access to specialty foods or food items they never have the chance to try before. My wife is Chinese and she really likes strange specialty foods. If you look at import of food on e-commerce, we can see a lot of people would buy import good, especially food item online. Now let's look at what channels consumers buy imported goods. They would buy them in stores in Hong Kong airport, etc. And if you look at the red bar, it means that the majority of people would buy import goods from online domestic shopping websites. Today we are having a presentation session about food and beverage. That is why this slide is about food and beverage, food and drinks. Now, if you look at this chart, it shows total online retail sales by sector, from media to electronic equipment to home and garden, computer, and food and beverage. In fact, food and beverage is second only to fashion in terms of total online retail sales. So you can see that food and beverage is an important part of online retail businesses. Currently, e-commerce is very strong in Tier 1 cities. But if you look at JD.com and Alibaba, their future plans show that they are going to develop their business in lower tier cities. They have established plans to deliver products to people living in lower tier cities. Jingdong, for example, would open over 5,000, in fact, more than 500 service centers at the countryside level, while Ali plans to build up to 10,000 service centers at the countryside level. That is why we're going to see the coverage of their services outside of major cities in China very soon. A relevant point would be about brands that recently entered China. They have a lot of opportunities. But what about the brands that are already doing well in the Chinese market? How can they protect their businesses from competition? I would like to look at biscuits. Let's look at biscuit category online purchase. For first-tier city, in the past 3 months, 43% people would buy biscuits online, and that is higher than the national average, which means that in big cities, people would buy biscuits online very often. And let's look at trend of consumer starting to buy more imported biscuits. Around 24% of consumers preferred imported brands of biscuits, and around 28% of people studied show that they bought more biscuits than last year. So they prefer imported biscuits and they buy more than what they bought last year. Let's move on to volume of imported biscuits. From 2011 to 2014, the increase was more than twofold. The trend is really steep. Three-quarters of consumers these days do not have any loyalty. During the study, it shows that in the past year, around 76% of consumers would buy from 9 brands. So they like to try different brands, but they're very loyal to one single brand. If, again, you are doing quite well in the Chinese biscuit market, what would you do in face of such challenges? How do you protect your own business? Let's look at the mother company of Oreo, Mondelez, our client, compared with the top 10 companies. They are losing share year by year. And these figures show that they're faced with problems. And I would like to share with you a story. For an established brand in the Chinese market, how should it deal with these challenges? What are the strategies to protect their businesses? These are competitors of Mondelez, for example, from JZZT, butter cookies, as well as Master Corn cookies. These 3 brands attract consumers through rational manners. For example, for butter cookies, it tells the consumers the cookies are baked in a very healthy way. And if you look at Master Corn, it says that the biscuit has 5 different grains as ingredients, which are considered very healthy. So these are rational messages telling the consumers how healthy they are. But we have a different theory. And neuroscientist Antonio Damasio once said,
"The decisions we make are influenced by and sometimes entirely driven by emotions and feelings."
Another one is Babashev, a neuroeconomist from India.
Simply rationalizes what the emotional brain has already decided to do.
So what they mean by these statements, many years ago, a well-known book was published called Two Speaks of Thinking. And it proposes a theory on how our brain works in decision-making processes. The book proposes that there are two systems in the brain. Thinking system 1 is more intuitive and a conscious self. It runs rather fast, and it has low involvement. You use this thinking system to do day-to-day decisions. For example, to make purchase decisions day-to-day. The second system is more rational. It is relatively slow. It has high involvement. For example, if you want to buy a car, you would use thinking system 2, because you really think things through before you make a purchase decision. You want to find a car that suits you. For most decisions by consumers, we're using thinking system 1. When we buy biscuits, we don't consider it a major purchase decision. We would make a decision based on our unconscious mind. Based on a study done by communications experts, the theory is proven. For example, a study by Muir Brown and his study on TV ad. Advertisements are divided into low, medium, and high involvement. If the advertisements are more emotional or have more emotional aspects, then the level of involvement will be higher. What's more, we need to think about motivation. How ads would motivate consumers to buy the products. If you have, let's look at the chart. It shows low feel-good factor as opposed to a high feel-good factor. The difference is really big, but there is a correlation in terms of feel-good factor and persuasion effectiveness.
It applies not only in the cookies category, but also in other categories. There were two ways to have an influence on your target audience. The first is the Mondelez story, Kangshifu and the cookies. This is the information processing model. Through attention and heart messages, achieve the persuasion purpose. So here we draw upon the theories of psychology because people are using their system too. But also we need to appeal to the subconscious. It appeals to the audience emotionally. So when we draw upon the theories of psychology, you see we have TUC and Chips Ahoy and Oreo. Look at this. It's about our choice of marketing strategies. If I may ask our audience a question, what is personality? What is your definition of personality? By looking at these three candidates in the US, they stand for different policy platforms, and they tell very different stories, and they behave differently. So what is personality? I think personality. The theory comes from a very famous psychologist by the name of Carl Jung. His colleague to Sigmund Freud. He came up with this groundbreaking idea. a breakthrough in the theory of psychology. He talked about extroverted versus introverted when describing a person's personality. A pair of conflicts. The second pair, sensing versus intuition. When you make decisions, how do you arrive at your decisions? Sensing versus intuition. And the third pair of conflicts, thinking versus feeling. In dictating your behavioral patterns. If you look at today's marketing landscape, you might have heard of some archetypes. There are some very basic archetypes, and these archetypes are also being developed. Here is this archetype model. What should we make of this archetype model? It's a pretty comprehensive theory framework, but this framework is based on Carl Jung's theory. We use this framework to differentiate our products. Horizontally to the left, it's group-oriented. Whenever you make decisions, you look at your peers, and to the right, you're self-focused. And vertically, your sense of order. You respect order, or you find change more interesting. So these two dimensions will make it possible for you to put one of your friends into any of these archetypes. You can put your friends into any one of these archetypes. Well, so Carl Jung theory was useful only to the extent that you knew how to use it. For example, we have a wheel. And we can fine-tune the wheel slightly by using this wheel. For example, at the very top, context, and next to it, sounds, and then symbols, and the music, humor, design, culture, and language. You can leverage all of these aspects. To give you a specific example, I've got several examples. How to apply the personal theory in your marketing campaign. Chips Ahoy is the first example. Chips Ahoy has its personality profile. You see how we define its personality? We strategize its personality. It's not random. You have to define it. On the left-hand side, we know what archetypes to draw upon. Jester, a very humorous guy, very good at telling jokes. And second, random fun, people who love random fun. People do not like order. But why do we draw upon this personality archetype? That is because the cookie, the chocolate chips, it supports many different possibilities. So we know what personalities to push. So by looking at the personality wheel, we know how to activate. On the very top, context. Chips Ahoy, whenever it enters into a room, it causes a lot of mess up the whole environment. Sounds, and through the animated figure, that little figure, it sounds like it's out of control, chaos, no order, and then symbols, all the symbols of chaos, music, fun and light. And at the bottom, humor. We need to add a humorous element. Design, when we design the cookie guy, it will have to represent the brand. So if I may share with you our commercials, our advertisements, and see and feel its personality. Don't take it seriously. All it takes is Chips Ahoy. So it will mess up a very clean environment. This is a promotional ad. Small package, big prizes. When it comes to digital activities like games, making fun of hot topics, we have a series of activities and several pieces of jokes we put online. The result is, through the performance of a cookie guy, consumers get a clear picture of the personality of Chips Ahoy. And consumers made the following comments about this Chips Ahoy icon. They're naughty, they said. I know what kind of a guy this icon stands for. And also the musician we used, and also the music we put. All have relevant messages sent. The result, 52% of consumers believed Chips Ahoy is a fun figure. And post 3 months purchase increased from 33% before campaign in 2014 and rose by 10 percentage points. The second example I'd like to give you is Oreo. Oreo is the best-selling biscuits brand in China. Its brand personality is playful imagination. It's known for being playful and imaginative. Let's look at its personality profile. On the left-hand side, it's a personality profile. Oreo looks at the world from a kid's perspective. You know, grown-ups are cynical and think the world is the world would never change. But kids are different. Kids can see the things that adults cannot. Kids are playful, kids are full of imaginations, they can see the opportunities. So the core idea of this brand is to look at the world from a kid's perspective. So the drivers are playful imagination. So with the two biscuits, there is a creamy layer in between. And they're saying the part in between is more important than the outside. Therefore, We use the personality wheel and develop these concepts. So every time we design an Oreo story, we use this approach. You see at the very center, it says Oreo smiled. And we developed the brand anthem. It's not a borrowed music, it's our own music. And design, I showed you our commercial, you see it features very complicated animation because we want kids to find their commercial interesting. Like Finding Nemo and an adult comic movie to reach that level of quality. Culture, contemporary adult. Even kindergarten kids will find it funny. Language, always positive, always encouraging. Let me show you the commercial.
帮你们看一下我们这个多出来。
看你怎样，有他舔他碰他咬他，和我一块滚滚叠叠，嘻嘻哈哈。因为奥利奥的玩法中有很多招，只要你想就能天天玩着新花样。嘿，开开心心，尽情去想象，好吃好玩奥利奥。奥利奥创意新吃法，赶快来挑战！立刻搜索“玩转奥利奥”。
所以这个是我们的 Play with Oreo。
This is Play with Oreo. It's an activation platform. This is Oreo Thins.
更加鲜饱，看着就想要，每一块都有格调，让你心潮更闪耀。会不会每天充满时尚美丽？时尚美味，巧清脆，心情分享。
这个产品就是那个 target audience， 就是强人，就是那个。
Well, Oreo Thins draw on the image of a mature woman, a white-collar woman. So it's different from a classic Oreo. The music is the same music, but the heroes are different.
这个就是一个新的产品叫 Star。
Oh, this is our new product, Star.
This introduces a new product, but I want you to see that they feature very imaginative worlds and scenarios. Oreo is the doorway for you to go to an imaginary fantasy land to enjoy yourself. This is the most fun ad. This features a new product, and this ad aims at internet users. We want to make it as fun as possible, and we launched it at youku.com.
Right. 所以这个是
You can see a range here. The first Oreo ad is targeting people with families, while the last Oreo is targeting single customers who are young and dynamic. And you can see that we have different kinds of ads for different target customers. In closing, I would like to share with you a special ad for the Year of Monkey.
祝财神，人人有红包，开启欢笑，新年美妙旅程，幸福来报道。奥利奥，阖家好滋味，奥利奥，万事兴起分享。
Okay. So that's Oreo. 那看那个 campaign 那个营销的结果，那个品牌。
Now let's look at the campaign results. Before and after the campaign, we had a comparison, and there is a big difference. 59% of consumers see Oreo as a fun brand after the campaign, while 65, around two-thirds of consumers, see Oreo as an imaginative brand. The result shows the success of personality strategies. Now we look at an ad for Oreo Thins, and we did a quite beautiful story on fashion. And we also have core business for Oreo classical designs. As I mentioned, as the market share was going down, we decided to launch Oreo Thins. And you can see that Oreo Thins contributed greatly to the company to protect its market share and sales volume. Now let's look at Oreo Star. It's a new brand, and its competitors are Pocky and Joy, which are more established in the Chinese market and have a longer history in the Chinese market. But we only spent 3 months before we obtained around 3% of the segment, while Pocky and Joy had to spend over 10 years to obtain 10% of the segment market. So you could see we were able to succeed within a very short period of time. Let's look at Oreo market share. We compared the results before and after the Oreo campaign. We could see that in 2014, the value share lost by minus 0.9%, but in 2015, we reduced the loss, and currently we have seen positive value growth. The third example would be TUC. The biggest idea behind TUC is optimistic progression. The brand comes from Brazil. Brazilian people are often worry-free. They are optimistic and they are progressive. So we wanted to focus on optimism. At the same time, we would include progression for the Chinese market only. Let's look at the personality wheel of TUC. Its personality archetype is creator. Its personality is to find opportunities in face of every scenario or challenges. Its motivation is optimistic progression, and it stands against little hunger. Little hunger would mean that in the afternoon you feel a little bit hungry. Your mind is not working so well. The product is doing very well in the country. The biscuit is a little bit salty. It's light, but it's feeling savory. Look at the personality. Will, its culture is youth, progress. Its language is not very formal. It's tongue-in-cheek language. And its context is afternoons because you want to fight your little hunger. Its symbols would be league of possibility. When I eat TUC, I would be in the league of possibility and everything becomes possible. The music would be a mock anthem of a made-up country. Let me show you 2 TVCs before I end my presentation.
让小额阻挡我的梦想，发挥我的才华，连挑剔老板也为我鼓掌。白富美平凡的我也能去回家，只要来片松脆的鲜曲饼干，赶走小额狗熊也能变成英雄，小额无法阻挡梦想的进一步，来吧，一起抢先去联盟。
OK， 那下一页就是给你看
想把快乐带给别人，却找不对接。
Second TVC.
低落因为小额分身，来一片鲜曲夹心，让身心舞动起来。你加上我，把快乐带给更多人，小额无法阻挡，让人群跟着我们一起嗨。完美的搭配，创造双重精彩。来吧，一起加入鲜曲联盟。
不行，大家可以感觉到这是我的意思。那是看一些那个数字。
Let's look at communication results.
那个 brand relevance， 那个 brand 那个
Brand relevance improved with the new campaign.
在那个以前的 campaign 就是那个
Before the campaign,
变那个红色指示之后，你可以看
the figures are in black, while after the campaign, the figures are in red.
那个显示，然
And
后那个 brand 那个品牌那个适合我的那个
the left chart would be, I would think of TUC when I have small hunger, and we see great improvement in both concepts. Now, we have seen faster growth after the campaign, right after the campaign. In fact, the growth rate was as high as around 50%. Before the campaign, its market share was going down, but the campaign helped the company to reverse the downward trend and realize an upward curve of growth. I shared with you 3 brands, and we can reach the conclusion that soft power can be very useful. Soft power has helped Mondelez to protect its market share and business in China. And it helps its performance to get back to positive growth. Tom Dawson once said something like that, like this.
Personalities and the meanings associated with the story of those products. People will only find meanings in brands with distinct personality. 另外一个意思可以这么说，在
In today's world, we have too much content, we have too much information, too many things to see. So we need to figure out what to see and what not to see. You need to have personality for your brand so that you can tell the people that the brand is worth loving. Thank you.